All right, fam, class is in session for another week. Today, we're going to talk about the simple sort of like business framework that you should start to mimic and install into your small business if you want it to blow up. And here's the thing, it revolves around kind of three main principles. Building an audience, engaging that audience, and then how to get that audience in front of you to make sure that it's the right people who are pre-bought, pre-sold into what it is that you're selling, so that you aren't talking to people that are wasting your time or just aren't a great fit. So we're gonna better qualify the audience that you have engaging. Now, I find that this is a really tender topic with small business owners because the biggest thing that they need is more people to talk to, but yet they don't know how to go and do that. You're waking up in the morning, you're feeling super stressed about just what the bank account is saying, where you're gonna find your next client, where you're gonna find the next person who's gonna walk through your door, and you just don't know what are the actual like super ROI steps that you can take to make sure that those types of things actually happen. You're posting and praying, just kind of throwing things up, getting your green check mark for the day, hoping that that's enough, that's gonna bring in people into your business. But most of the time you're just like waiting, playing defense, and those people aren't actually coming. So let's talk about what types of intentional things that you can do inside of your small business to build a super simple framework, a super simple model, just like method of finding more people to talk to, getting the right people in front of you, and then how to turn those people into actual clients. It doesn't matter what kind of small business you own, as long as it's a service-based business, these structural things to your marketing flywheel are going to make sense, and the context applies to most small businesses. If you're new around here, my name is Taryn Dubreuil. I own a company called Perfect Day Business Mentorship. I've mentored over 1,000 small business owners over the course of the last 5 to 6 years. And more specifically, inside our CEO Clubhouse program, this is where I help small business owners get to consistent 30K months while only working 3 to 4 days a week. And that 30K and the 3 to 4 days is the synchronicity between the freedom of your money, time, and mental space. And that's how we build a business that serves you instead of the other way around. You can click the link below and jump into my free community for small business owners. Jump in there, stuff being posted every day, super helpful, super useful. But today, you're in class, we're gonna learn some structure today. So I'm a talker and a writer, so that's how we're gonna do this today. Now, there's three main things that we are trying to accomplish, okay? The first thing is we've got to build our audience, right? Because most small business owners right now, small audience, they're talking to the same people over and over and over again. And that gets tiring, and you can actually use up your relationship capital. You can burn it up really fast, which means that when you go to sell something or put an offer out or put an invitation to work with you out, it's not going to land on all the ears that you need it to land on, because people are basically just going to put you on mute if all you're doing is talking to the same people over and over. So the first thing we're going to talk about is how to build an audience, get more people to actually talk to. From there, we need to take that audience and get them to engage. How do we get the people that are looking at our stuff, reading our stuff, stopping and taking the time? How do we actually get them to say, yep, I'm interested in working with you. What are the next steps? And I think if I could die on a hill, it would be this one, is small business owners are probably the most afraid to work within the vicinity of this number 2 step, simply because you don't want to overwhelm your audience. You don't want to come off as annoying, whatever it might be. You're scared to sell what it is that you actually do. And so we need to cut that out. And I'm going to show you a little bit more effective ways to make it super easy for somebody to say, yeah, that's me. I'm in. How do I work with you? Okay. And then the last step is, how do we get these people to be pre-sold, essentially? Meaning that when they come and sit in front of you, they are the right people. They actually want what you have to sell. And most importantly, they actually are willing to pay to get that help. Because I know if you think back to some of your previous conversations with leads or prospects, people just going through your consultation process or whatever it might be, you've probably wasted a ton of time talking to people that what you have to sell is not actually something they want help with. And most importantly, they're not willing to pay for it. So we want to make sure that the work that our marketing does actually sets up to get the right people in front of us. And that is a marketing thing. That is a pre-consultation funnel thing. And it gets most often overlooked, skipped, or ran through too fast, rushed through, simply because you're not putting the right types of verbiage out there. You're not talking to the right people. So we're gonna call that out in step 1 and 2. Okay. So here's what we're gonna talk about today. Let's start with just building that audience. Okay. There are 2 kind of primary ways that we can do this. We can do this with ads, right? We can build our audience by paying for meta ads or whatever it might be. And that can bring people into our world simply because we're paying to get in front of those eyeballs. So we do this inside of the CEO Clubhouse with a method called the 100 lead game. Love this strategy. We love ads inside of the CEO Clubhouse with an asterisk, given that you've taken the proper steps beforehand to make sure that your leads are tested and proven before we go and spend money behind them, right? But we do this with a method called the 100 lead game. And what it is a strategy that puts out our ad, gets people to click the ad, we get their email address, and then what we do on the back end to take that cold lead and warm it up and turn it into a paying customer. I love this strategy more specifically because Rebecca is one of our massive success stories inside the CEO Clubhouse who installed the 100 lead game. Did it on one day through took her a couple of hours to install the system, woke up the next day with 100 plus. I forget what the exact number is, but it was over 100 in less than 24 hours. Massive. Like, think about what that would do for your small business if you could wake up tomorrow with over 100 brand new people to talk to you about what it is that you do. So this isn't the video today. The lecture that we're going through today is not about the 100 lead game, but it is worth noting that paid ads are a strategy to get your stuff in front of the right eyeballs and get more assets into your contact list. Okay. For the sake of today, we're just going to briefly touch on organic. So this is what you know as like posting on your socials, referrals, like all those other things that you know how to do, but maybe aren't necessarily getting the best ROI out of. So I've done a video in the past on our 4S social system, and that's a really important video. And so I want to make sure that you touch on that content. If you just go to my Instagram at Taryn Dubreuil and you DM me 4S, I will send you everything you need to know about the 4S social system. But for the sake of today and our organic, there's kind of like 3 main things that we want to make sure that our organic marketing is covering. And so the first one, we want to make sure that we're talking in language that reflects the problems that your prospects have. Okay. Now, we can't be superficial here. And I'm going to use a gym, for example, mostly because I came from the fitness industry, but also because I feel like when we talk about health and fitness, this is something that everybody across the board can understand contextually. So I'm going to use that as a reference. When we talk about problems in the fitness space, the most common thing I see is like, you want to lose weight, you want to lose 10 pounds, you want to do this, you want to feel stronger, you want to have more energy. That type of language, although those are the problems that your prospects have, they do want to lose weight, they do want to feel better, they do want to get off medication. It's too superficial. Okay. That's what we would consider vanilla. You are going to blend in with every other business type like yours if the marketing that you're putting out is too surface level, reflective of everything else everyone else is talking about. What we want to do is get emotional about those problems. Okay. And this one part, like I'm going to put a star beside this because this one part, when done well, is the difference between the successful business with a marketing plan and the unsuccessful business with a marketing plan. One has a half-assed marketing plan and one actually has one that is working for them. And quite often, the difference is simply the language in which they are talking about the same problems. Now, let's use that fit health and fitness as an example. One business owner is talking about you want to lose 10 pounds and the other business owner is saying you want to lose 10 pounds because you have a wedding coming up in 3 months, and standing up there in your wedding dress, feeling like the rock star that you are, proud of all the work you've put in, seeing the way your soon-to-be husband's eyes light up when you walk down the aisle and how everyone else is so proud in this moment, and you're proud of the pictures that you're going to see afterwards. And there's this like common language going through of like pride and of yourself and like pride of everyone else and the emotional attachment to how he looks at her. And there's very vividly descriptive words and scenarios mapped out in that language. That makes such a difference because now the person, the prospect who is reading your content can see that you truly understand why they want to lose 10 pounds as opposed to you just want to lose 10 pounds. You just want to lose 10 pounds so that you look better. You just want to lose 10 pounds so that you feel better. So like, even just as I say that now, you can understand that it's so light, like it's superficial. And naturally, that language is not going to land, okay? We want to be descriptive. We want to use emotional words. So I'm going to write descriptive in here because I think that's another word. If you look at your social content right now and your email marketing, whatever it is, wherever you exist, if you look at what you're putting down and you ask yourself, is this emotional? And if the answer is no, I would stop this video right here and I would not go any further and I would make that one simple change. And then you'll start to see your engagement change, okay? Now, once I understand the problems that my prospects have, then I can translate that into the desires that they have. So basically, what are the opposite things? If somebody has this problem of being on this medication, well, the opposite thing that they want is the freedom in their life, the safety of their life, the longevity of their life. But even when I describe it like that, it's still superficial. And so the next part we want to focus on is desires, and we want to keep those with emotion and descriptive language there. My favorite way to talk about just like the desires that people have is really mapping out the storyline. Okay. And it doesn't matter if every prospect of yours doesn't have this particular storyline. What they will recognize the emotion that is behind that. So for example, when you think about like, let's go back to the health and fitness, because that again, it translates. You're talking about somebody who wants more energy because they want to keep up with their kids. Well, even just saying something like that is still surface level. Tell the story of not being able to keep up with their kids. All right, well, you want to go hiking. Hiking is like a normal part of your family vacation every summer. And up until now, you've always had to pick really short or flat routes. You've sometimes have like came up with stories about how you didn't feel good on the day just so that you could get out of it and not have to be embarrassed that you were going to get super tired or you would have to stop or you just couldn't actually do the route that was picked. But now, you know, you pick maybe a little bit longer route or maybe one that has better views because it's got some elevation on it that you weren't able to do before. And now you start moving with your family up this dramatic climb and you get to the top and you have all these amazing moments having a picnic at the top of the mountain overlooking the sky view, the city view. You know, your kids are super excited. They're really proud of this trip that they just walked through. And none of it, they ever think about your ability to stop or start on this route. They're just glad that they're sharing this moment with you. And you take a family picture at the top. And that's a picture that you go back to over and over and over again because you know how much work you've put in and how you weren't able to do that before. And now you have these special memories that you're gonna have forever. I just started from you want to lose weight and have better energy to keep up with your kids to drawing out this massive story about what ends up being lifetime memories of being at a picnic on the top of a mountain overlooking the cityscape, right? Massive emotion, super descriptive language, and people who are reading your stuff will translate that experience into something that's relevant to them simply because you have mapped your way through there to show them that you understand the emotion and the desire that they actually have. So this is kind of step 2. If you audit your social marketing right now, your social media, your email, and you can't paint the avid descriptive picture of the future, then stop this video right here and start by changing that. And again, you will see your engagement change dramatically just because people are going to understand. Now, here's the last step. Once you understand the problems and the desires, then we need to start talking about the solutions. But this is often where small business owners start and finish. They focus so heavily on this part simply because you guys are technicians of your craft. You're great at what you do. You can deliver the results to your clients, the the promises that you deliver on, you're confident you can do that for them. And so because you naturally are great at what you do, you want to talk about what you do. Or more specifically, you want to talk about your program. You want to talk about the things that you do. You want to talk about how people need those things, but you're not talking about why. And the whys are the problems and the desires. And so when we go back through these things, right now you're talking 80% and maybe 20%. Oh, sorry, let me make my screen a little smaller. You're talking 80% about your program and 20% about the actual emotional things that hook people in, as where that should be the opposite. We want 80% talking about the problems and the desires and 20% talking about your actual program. Okay? This alone, if you look back on your marketing and you make sure that you have these things included in it, I bet you what you are doing right now is wildly black and white from this. And more specifically, like I said, focusing on the emotion behind those things. Okay? So step 1 here is audit your marketing. Okay? Audit it first. Go back to your problems. Get emotional with them. Start talking about the desires. And then you can talk about your solutions. Make this change to your marketing. We'll get some better engagement. And that's when people are going to start click and follow. That's when they're going to start opening your emails. That's when they're just going to start getting entwined in what you do and who your brand is and who you are. Okay? So we've got people paying attention. We're curating attention. That brings us to step 2, which is get those people to engage. This is where we kind of fall flat. So the meat and potatoes of today is about this part. Okay. Now we can do this in 2 ways. We have our social media and we have like email marketing. My bets are, if you're watching this, you probably are doing both average or you're only doing one of them. So now that you're in my ecosystem, you're going to understand that email marketing is massively, massively, massively important. And there is a huge ROI that can come from emailing your email list regularly. That's a video for another day, but just so that we can understand today's strategies, there are 2 ways to engage your audience, and we can do it from our social media and our email. And the stuff I'm going to say right now in this next coming section can apply to either of those places, but should be both what you're working towards. Okay. So we know right now that when we put out that problem, desires, solutions type of content, we want to give people the opportunity to raise their hand, right? We want people to say, hey, that's me. I really see myself in what you've written and what you've worked through and what you've talked about. And I actually want to take those next steps and be that person to get those results. And so we do that by keyword, okay? Gone are the days of DM me if you're interested, waiting for people to come to you and initiate the conversation. We want people to kind of do a couple of things. Keywords are important because they feed the algorithm. You exist on social media and email to basically play a game. You don't get to control what happens. You're playing the game of the platform. Social media loves engagement. And so we want to coax people to comment on our stuff because that's going to feed the algorithm. If the algorithm sees a bunch of comments and a bunch of likes, then it's going to think that that piece of content is super interesting. So it's naturally going to start like putting it in front of more eyeballs just because you've got engagement already on it. So if you're one of those small business owners who writes DM me to start, we have to get out of that habit and start writing comment below so that you can play the game of social media. Okay. As well as there are ways that we can automate these conversations. And without getting into more details, that's a super easy automation sequence that we can use something like ManyChat for. If you're new to that, skip that part of this. If you're not new to that, also skip that because that's not what this video is about. But we want to make sure that we're being as efficient as possible. And so that's where we can use automation to help us out. So keywords are massively important. Now here's the problem with keywords, because a lot of people understand the process of keywords, but they're not using it right. And when I say they're not using it right, kind of 2 main things. You always think we need to create something new when really we don't. We want to get more organized and have maybe 3 to 4 main keywords that get the outcome that we want, right? I've worked with many, many, many small business owners who think that every time we put out a post that is going to be a lead magnet or a lead grabbing type of piece of content, that we need to go and create a new lead magnet every single time. And that is exhausting. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. You don't know whether that thing is actually going to work. And so we're wasting a particular piece of content in order to test this new thing. We forget about it, or we put up 12 to 15 to 20 different keywords. And then by the time, especially if you don't have things automated, by the time those keywords start coming through, you forget what that person is even requesting. And so the big thing here is we want to get organized. Okay. We want to make sure that we have the right lead magnets and that we only have a few of them, and all of them are purposeful in order to grab contact information from our followers. Okay. So when we think about main lead magnets, and we want about 3 to 4 of them. Okay. The first and foremost one is like how to work with you. So for the people who are super, super interested, these are the people who are already sold. They already want what you have. They don't need convincing. How do they take the step ahead of everyone else in order to work with you? For me, you can go to my Instagram at Taryn Dubreuil and you can just DM me 99 and I know right away that you are interested in joining the CEO Clubhouse. And so with that, I will work through that conversation in a very particular type of way to make sure that I am most useful for you and the type of business that you have to help you grow. So for me, that is just a trigger of 99. DM me on Instagram 99. Okay. The second one is you want an email list grabber. And so this might be something as simple as join my email list here. It might be something like I have a 7-day course that will help you do XYZ, and then it's delivered via email. And so you want a keyword for this, and we want that keyword to always be the same, okay? The third one, if you have like a community, so you might exist in a Facebook group, you might exist in school, somewhere like that, but somewhere where you can now gather super interested people to market to them more intensely. So if you have a free community, that's awesome. If you go onto my Instagram and you comment CEO, it will give you the link to our school group right away. And inside school, that's where we give more intense, but more applicable, more detailed resources to the people inside of that group. Okay, so for us, it's school. And the keyword is CEO. Anytime anyone comments CEO, that link is directly given to them. And so from here, the last kind of thing is like your main lead magnet. This might be like a video. It might be like a PDF. It could be a book. It could be delivered in many different formats, but it's like your main thing to help warm people up to what it is that you do and just what it looks like to work with you. For me, if you comment roadmap on anywhere on Instagram or you send me a message with roadmap, that will deliver you to our first video it's a 6-part mini series of the roadmap to 30K. And so this is super useful when you look back through this and you can see that, all right, here's a keyword, here's a keyword, here's a keyword, here's a keyword. And if I make all of my content from here about problems, desires, solutions, always have one of 4 keywords, then I have a way to gather the assets of the prospects no matter what it is that I'm doing. I can always take a cold lead and turn them warmer with every piece of organic content or every email that's going out, because there is always a way for somebody to raise their hand and say, yep, I want to take the next step with you. And so when I go back through this portion, and if I stop here, if I go nowhere further, if I stop here, simply organizing your lead magnets, organizing how you take people from just being a follower to taking the next step with you to getting their contact information. This one part of just super simplify it down into 4 main ways to take that next step. This will change and organize your content dramatically. I can think back to the dozens of small business owners who are always trying to recreate a new asset every single week, when really if they just had better content that talked more about the problems, desires, and solutions with emotional and descriptive language and tacked on one of these main ways to wrap up the story, that is a simple, super organized way to engage that audience. Okay? I'm going to stop here. The last step of the process is to get these people to be pre-sold to sit in front of you. This is a whole other topic in and of itself that I'm going to do a lecture on next week of how to pre-sell those people to make your time more efficient when you do get in front of them. It's a massively important part of the step, but arguably without these first two steps, that third step really doesn't matter because your marketing does the legwork. Your marketing is the heavy hitters. It's the thing that brings those right people into the right places if your language is attracting the right types of people. And so if right now you have the wrong type of people sitting in front of you, unqualified people, then that is a marketing problem. And it's going to be one of these two things. And so that's what I wanted to focus on today is building an audience and engaging that audience. Because if your problem in your small business is not enough people to talk to and not understanding how to talk to those people, then this is where we have to start. Okay? Now, inside the CEO Clubhouse, we walk through this process start to finish in way more detail, way more one-on-one, like auditing what you have right now and auditing as you build it to make sure that the first two documents you build within your business is your model of how people move through your company and the marketing language to go along with it so that you know what to talk about and how to talk about those things. And then to add the emotional descriptive language layer on top of it. We do that all inside the CEO Clubhouse. We open our enrollment for the CEO Clubhouse once a month. And so if you click the link below and you head to my Instagram, DM me 99, and I will walk you through that process of what it looks like to move through the CEO Clubhouse and get your business towards consistent 30K months while working less. This is the easiest problem to solve in your marketing language, your marketing system. If you get this down, it makes all the bricks you stack on top infinitely easier. And so with that being said, I hope this was helpful. If any part of it was valuable in any which way, shape, or form, share this with another small business owner who you think could use the help on their marketing. And like I said, DM me 99 on Instagram and I'll get you moving through the next steps. Cheers, guys.